Good evening. It is Tuesday, August 30th, 2022. I'm Glenda Carlin. Welcome to, really, I used to say Holy Son of God, but now I realize there's only God. So each of you are God. So Joan, God. Barbara, God. Nance, God. Leon, God. Corrine, God. Debbie, God, and Julia was with us a bit. Julia, God. Because the deal is, there is only God. He's an omnipresent, he, she, it, everywhere present, all powerful. Nothing can do anything against God's power. Only in a dream can we have this illusion that there's another power that can actually be equal or do the opposites of love. That's why we're here, to awaken from this dream, this illusion. So welcome to this A Course in Miracles, and I mix Dzogchen Buddhism with this. Welcome, welcome, everyone. And what I'm sitting with or reflecting on is what's happened to my mind. When we awaken from the dream, I found some sentences in the Course where Jesus actually talks about conscious. We're conscious. We awaken, we get to our consciousness of our Christ Buddha self, our God self. We awaken that which we become conscious of. We're aware of it. And the highest awareness we can do in this realm is what I'm just talking about, is you're aware more and more during the day of thinking of your brothers as Christ, Buddha, God, and of yourself that way. But then we want to rest in that awareness. And so I've been reflecting on how come I can rest in this awareness. And I searched the Course and found it's lesson 109, where Jesus says, I rest in God, is the name of the lesson. And in the end, I'm probably going to be reading this whole lesson. But here's what he says is, this thought will bring you to the rest and quiet, peace and stillness, and the safety and happiness you seek. I rest in God. This is the exact quote. This thought has the power to wake the sleeping truth in you, whose vision sees beyond appearances. And see, that's practice in Jesus's advanced forgiveness, where we look past the form to the spirit that's here. We look beyond. And that's what he's saying here, whose vision sees beyond appearances to that same truth in everyone and everything there is. Here is the end of suffering for all the world, and everyone who ever came and yet will come to linger for a while. So this lesson, I rest in God, is for everyone that's ever been born, he says, that's ever come here and yet to come, all the unborn, to linger a while. Here is the thought in which the Son of God is born again to recognize himself. That's paragraph 2. Then paragraph 3 says, I rest in God. Completely undismayed, this thought will carry you through storms and strife, past misery and pain, past loss and death, and onward to the certainty of God. There is no suffering it cannot heal. There's no problem that it can't solve, and no appearance but will turn to truth before the eyes of you who rest in God. So this could be a lesson that you put on a sticky note that you practice in among all your other tools in your toolbox. I rest in God. Now, the big paragraph is this number 5, which says, in timelessness you rest, while time goes by without its touch upon you, for your rest can never change in any way at all. So that's meaning as you integrate this lesson in your life, there still seems to be good and bad out there and all those things, but that won't touch you because you've risen above it to rest in God in your mind, or you're thinking about, I rest in God. But he says you rest today. And as you close your eyes, sink into stillness. So when we meditate here in a bit, I'm going to use a few different words. Let these periods of rest and respite reassure your mind that all its frantic fantasies were but the dreams of fever that has passed away. Let it, and he means here your mind, be still and thankfully accept its healing. Now that's what I recognize has happened. My mind has healed itself, due to, well, three things I look at: practicing Jesus's advanced forgiveness, turning my day over to the Holy Spirit, but also meditation. And I'm just going to accept Gonzalo. Welcome, Gonzalo, God. I no longer say Holy Son of God. I say God because there's only God. We're each God. That's because there's only God. We're only God. I was talking about here, Gonzalo, that I'm reflecting on what's happened in my mind. And I realize what's happened is my mind is healing itself due to practicing Jesus' advanced forgiveness, where we look past the form and think of our brothers as spirit, as light, love. So, turn the day over to Holy Spirit. And the third is to meditate. And in this lesson 109, I rest in God, Jesus actually says he wants you to rest for an hour. He says it. Each hour that you take your rest today, I mean, that's meditation. Yay. Then other places he says 5 minutes. So you do both, that, or a second, or 3 or 5 seconds as you turn within to look at that invisible light and just kind of relax your shoulders and rest there in that invisible light. Well, anyway, so what I realized, he says in here, this resting will heal the mind. And so I was thinking about, well, how did that happen? So when we rest or when we meditate, and I say, well, picture something you want to focus on. And then when you see that your mind has wandered to a thought, an image, or an emotion, then we talk about just bring your attention back to there. It's called a center place where you're at, your alignment, or invisible space, or that invisible light of the great ray that you picture is there. And you come back to the light. And every time you do that, you're resting in God. And your mind is healing and remembering what it is. Now, you're not really aware of it, but this is cumulative. When I look back on that, I've now been meditating each day for at least an hour with this LA Dzogchen group. And then I meditate maybe, heck, I don't even know, 3 or 4 other times in the day. And there'll be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30, an hour again. And then during the night, it just becomes a natural thing to go to the mind and be at peace and stillness. But anyway, every time we do that, you're healing your mind because you're remembering where the rest of God is. Now picture that, I rest in God. That to me is so huge because I didn't really understand what was going on, why this changed, where I feel that where Jesus says here, you feel a peace. He listed all these words: rest, quiet, peace, stillness, safety, happiness. Oh man, even if it's just for a second. So, and also remember in the lesson last week, Jesus talks about in the silence or the stillness, that's where God dwells. So see, when you go back to resting God, and then for a second or two, there's stillness, there's God. You dwell in God. That means you are God. You're in that God light. Well, anyway, I hope that helps. This is so huge. We're going to read some more here. But let's meditate here for a few minutes, and then we'll go on with lesson 109 and some other things. So just relax. And the big thing is to, oh, wait, I'm going to read something which will help for this. This is called the 5 Great Perfections. And this comes from Dzogchen Buddhism, but it can apply to the Course. Because here are the 5. And this comes from the Lama Surya Das. And the 5 great perfections, when they're set, you settle into them, it becomes what's called a diamond vision, or called Buddha vision, or Christ vision. But they call it also diamond vision. And I didn't know what that meant until a few weeks ago, is when, as we talk about, and the Course talks about, everything outside that seems to be out in front of our face are projections that are projected from the mind, from our holy mind, our holy God mind. We've projected these images. And then we use the egoic mind to judge them, interpret them, and sort them and label them good and bad, like or dislike. We either attach to them or push them away. Then we use ego mind to do the judgment, the interpretations, and but we can choose again and just go to the holy God mind and their holiness everywhere, God everywhere, in the mailbox, in the yard, the flowers, each person you see, on the politicians on TV, there's only God. But anyway, they talk about the 5 great perfections, and they call it the natural great perfection, which is what we're talking about here tonight, called resting. I rest in God. Because in that rest, ultimately, your mind is going to extend out, and you're resting in a vast spaciousness. It could look like emptiness. It could look like space, S-P-A-C-E, or clear light, or air. But in reality, it's the clear light of God. It's vast spaciousness of God. That's the natural great perfection of leaving everything the way it alone, not bothering anything, not labeling it, not pushing it away, not clinging to it, because there's only God, and these are projections, even our own body, that we projected onto the vast space. That's the other thing that's come to me. It's no longer, I don't think or even say, we project into the space. We can't do that. God, power, and perfection, you can't change it. You can't inject or project something into God's space. No, it's ever timeless, ever unchanging. But so we project these images on the vast space, on that clear light of God mind. And maybe that'll help you realize to let them float, just let them come and go like clouds in the sky, because we've projected them onto the space or the mind, the light. Well, anyway, so what I want to say is there are 5 points here. And so this awakening to your divine, holy God self doesn't have to take a long time. It can be instantaneous, or through maybe something I say helped you, save you time on your awakening process. It doesn't matter. But what these perfections talk about, number 1 is this is the perfect time, the holy and splendid now. So this instant, this precious moment right now, each now moment, now, moment is all there is. So we got the perfect time. That's number 1. Perfect place is right where you're at, whatever room you're in. The perfect revelation or message. So now the message here is, I rest in God. You say that, I rest in God. The third one is the perfect source or deeper power manifesting itself through and as all and everything, here and now, wherever we may be. So that's saying number 4 is the perfect source or the deeper power. That means the God power is manifesting through all, that spark of light. There's a spark of light. There's light in everything, because in that projection, there's some light. May be hidden and people aren't aware of it, but in each of you is your God light that will become awakened, because your body's an image in your mind, even though it's been projected out in front of you. As your mind becomes purified from thoughts of separation from God, that's why all the light then fills your form, and all these chakras, these subtle energy centers, start to open, because they all are going to open, because you are the light of the world. We're talking about, that's how the light comes through. The great ray comes down straight down the middle of your head, plus all these chakra centers, they're lighting, they're rotating and sending out light. Every cell, you are light and space. God's light, God's space. Looks like a dense form, but it's not. The fifth one is we are the perfect receptacles, vessels, or embodiments. So the word embodiment just means, because the body's an image in the mind, that's why we can embody all this light. That's why it's called, we radiate the light. It pulsates out of you. When you, as you start to awaken, you feel more of your light pulsate, radiate out of all your cells. Plus then you may feel it come out of your third eye, your throat chakra, your heart chakra, your navel chakra, there's a chakra at your genital areas, and there's a chakra at the base of the spine. Then there's the crown chakra, the ultimately crown chakra that opens, and it's fed by this kundalini energy at the base. As it opens, it sends energy or light, it sends light straight up through all the chakras. And as they open, finally, when they all get opened, then it can go to your crown chakra. Then the crown chakra is like a fountain or a waterfall of light that just pours off the top of your head, down your face. And then that light feeds and comes past your third eye, your heart, your throat chakra, your heart chakra, navel, genital, back down to the kundalini, and it circulates in a circle. I am not kidding you. It becomes a circle. In the course, it's called the circle of atonement. But that circle means there's only oneness. You have union with the light that you are. You're no longer separate little lights. Everything is unified. This one big light, subtle light system within you is unified, and it's communing with your God light. That's the diamond vision. It's a circular golden light that circulates from your crown chakra. It's like you can even picture it like a line, a line that's golden, coming straight down, and it circles past all these chakras and circles at the kundalini and comes back out, and it follows your breath in and out, which is following the great ray movement in and out of your head. It circles, but it's a complete circle. Anyway, that's the 5 great perfections, which precede then our vision, that when we meditate here. So if you want, you can either leave your eyes open or closed, and imagine a huge sun above your head, and that sun is source, is reflective or corresponds, is symbolic of our God source. And per Jesus in the Course, there's a great ray that comes off of it and connects you to eternity. So just see a ray of that light come straight down the middle of your head through the center of your body, and it runs straight along all your chakras. See, it goes through the middle of your body down into the ground. And that light is so beautiful, so loving. You want to join with it, but before you do, I want you to see an altar in your mind, and on that altar, put the things you think you need to be happy. And then see that altar and your mind disappear into the light. Then focus your attention above your forehead, above your head, to that great ray light that's coming down from above your head, straight down the middle of you. It's an invisible light, can be clear light. And it's so loving, you want to merge with it. But it's also called rest. I rest in God. That light is God light. That is you. That is you and everything. All our brothers, all inanimate beings through all universes, all times and space is in that light. That's the circle of atonement as well, the one union, the communion, that light. So you want to, the verbs are like rest in it or rejoin with it, dissolve into it. But the big thing is to rest. And then how do you rest in something that's invisible or clear or you can't see it? But it's there. I swear by it. Jesus tells us, and I swear by it, it's true. You are the light of the world. That light is, that's why I have you taking a picture of yellow cake batter, pouring it down the top of that, your head on that great ray, and having that yellow cake batter come straight down the middle of you, all down the middle of your form, and see it spreading out every cell throughout all the chakras, throughout every cell in your body, radiating out. That is your light. That is God light. You can use whatever color you want because you want to be able to have a little texture to rest, to sit in it, be in it, because that's you. That's your home. That is our home. That light right there. That's how you go home. That's your home right there. So it'll get so when you meditate like this, then during the day, you can go to your mind and rest there and remember, oh, I'm home. I rest in God. That's me. That's my brothers. We're right there while we go about our duties, our responsibilities, our chores, whatever you're doing. We never, ever put our body in harm's way. We get psychotherapy if we need it while we're applying these truths and practicing Jesus' advanced forgiveness, turning our day over to Holy Spirit, and resting, meditating in this light. In lesson 109, Jesus says, do this for an hour. Sit and rest. Let's see where's this? Each hour that you take your rest today, a tired mind is suddenly made glad. A bird with broken wings begins to sing. A stream long dry begins to flow again. The world is born again. Each time you rest, and hourly remember that you came to bring the peace of God into the world, that it might take its rest along with you. See, and then he says, I'll read this, you rest within the peace of God today, and call upon your brothers from your rest to draw them to their rest along with you. You will be faithful to your trust today, forgetting no one, bringing everyone into the boundless circle of your peace, the holy sanctuary where you rest. Open the temple doors and let them come from far across the world and near as well. Your distant brothers and your closest friends, bid them all enter here and rest with you. I mean, really, you rest within the peace of God today, quiet and unafraid. Each brother comes to take his rest and offer it to you. We rest together here, for thus our rest is made complete. And what we give today, we have received already. Time is not the guardian of what we give today. We give to those unborn and those passed by, to every thought of God and to the mind in which these thoughts were born and where they rest. And we remind them of their resting place each time we tell ourselves, I rest in God. Those are paragraphs 8 and 9 from lesson 109. This is huge, what you all are doing here by coming here live. This is called a sangha or a community, a support group, where when we meditate, it gets a synergy, a bigger life than a single person meditating. And in the Course, Jesus talks about a holy relationship is when, two or more are joined of mind. And when that happens, that's huge. This is so beautiful because in your rest, we're calling in all our brothers from all over the world, all universes, all time and space. Come and rest in this stillness, this quiet, this invisible God light that's here now within your mind, your God mind, your Christ Buddha mind, which is really God mind. This is huge what you're doing. So somewhere in this lesson, he says to remember, tell yourself, let's see where this is. Tell yourself that this was a fantasy. And you're wicked. Here it is. Let these periods of rest and respite reassure your mind that all its frantic fantasies were but the dreams of fever that has passed away. Let it, meaning your mind, be still and thankfully accept its healing. So when you guys don't think anything's happening when you're meditating, every time you come back to this stillness and rest, you have just healed your mind. That's what I realized has happened to me from me meditating every day for an hour or more since a year ago, June. So please consider putting a meditation practice into your life. I'll be quiet here a minute and you just can focus on, and if your mind's wandering, here's the huge thing. You recognize it's wandering, then you just, you're just aware that your thought has wandered off to what you did at work today or what you're going to do tomorrow, what you're going to do later tonight. Then just bring your attention back to that invisible light. It's not the walk of shame. This is success, guys. This is huge that you have realized your mind wandered and you brought it the hell back. It's huge. Woohoo! It's party time. Because we've lived with just the chatter of the mind and you didn't know what you were wanting to do, wanting to master your mind. As you do this of catching these thoughts, emotions, or images and coming back to the stillness, to rest in God, you're strengthening, you're building this muscle of spiritual practice where you're remembering this holiness, this stillness. It's huge. Oh, so you look at your thoughts, images, emotions like clouds in the sky. They're just floating over there on the vast expanse, on the vast God mind. You just let them go. Just let those thoughts go. You can think about your budget, your planning, your day after meditation. In meditation, we're letting all these thoughts go. Come, they'll just show up. Then if you don't stir your mind, that's the other thing. If we don't stir the mind, now that's what that stirring means, attach, grab onto something or push something away called aversion. If you're just going to let these thoughts go, that's the miracle of all this. Then they just pass and you're not attached to them. You've not judged them good or bad, liking or disliking. They're just passing on by. They're just thoughts. They're not your thoughts. These are images. They're not your images. They're not your emotions. They're egos, not yours, your God. These are just thoughts, images floating on top of the vast God mind. And you're coming back to rest in that stillness. But that's the mastery of the mind. You can't never stop the mind's chatter. That'll never stop. I tried to do that. That I did not know this Dzogchen meditation until I started meditating with this Dzogchen Buddhist group of this Lama Surya, and they explain all this. It can greatly save you years of work because you're not going to stop the mind. You're not going to stop that ego chatter, but you rest in God as all that stuff is coming and going. So now I'll be quiet. And if you're just rest in that light, Oh, and the other thing you can do when you see your mind wandering, just take a deep breath in from your belly, and on the exhale, say ah, and just let go. Take a deep breath in and out. That's called, they call it breaking up this ice, this fixation of being attached or pushing away a thought or an emotion. You're starting fresh again. And I don't care if you do that 50 times in an hour. It doesn't matter. Nobody's counting. You find your own way where you can come back to the light, to the stillness, the rest. And when you want, you can bring your mind back to this place, but realize that you can always do this meditation in moments, or 10 minutes, 15, 20, or an hour, or find a Zen group or some group to meditate with. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Anybody got a comment or a thought about meditation before I go on? This is the core to the healing of the mind. I mean, Jesus says it right here in 109. Oh, rest becomes the only thing there is. I forgot that. That's the hugest sentence in this whole lesson 109. Rest becomes the only thing there is. I'm not kidding you. Let's find where he says that. Here it is, paragraph 7 in lesson 109. And the heading on lesson 109 is I rest in God. And the time when rest will be the only thing there is comes closer to all worn and tired minds, too weary now to go their way alone. And they will hear the bird begin to sing and see the stream begin to flow again, with hope reborn and energy restored, to walk with lightened steps along the road that suddenly seems easy as they go. See, listen, and the time when rest will be the only thing there is. And see, that's what I realize has happened since this year ago, December, when I started meditating. There's a rest. And then he says where the mind heals, it heals itself. Let it be still, meaning the mind, and thankfully accept its healing. So you're healing your mind. Ha! I love it. That was like, wow, I've never found those sentences before. I mean, yo, this is big, guys. So really, there's a simplicity to this whole drill. Turning your day over to the Holy Spirit, practicing advanced forgiveness, and also reading and practicing any truths in the course or parallel other books you read, or for me, it's Dzogchen Buddhism, and meditating. That's wonderful. Anybody got a comment on meditation or anything? Well, I'm getting my notes right here.
Yeah, Glenn, I got a comment.
Sure.
Yeah, and
hi, Gonzalo.
Hey, Glenda. Hey, everybody. Yeah, I so agree with you about the meditation piece, which I know Jesus in the Course in Miracles doesn't talk very overtly about meditation very often, and I think that that's totally by design, because he really was focused on the principles of practice. But one of the foundations of being able to go deeper into mind training is the meditation practice. However we can squeeze it in. I know everybody's busy, and especially with our ego attachments here in the world, we will find reasons not to meditate. But it's so foundational to be able to go deeper into the experience of the present moment, and to be able to allow periods in which all of that deep, dark, unconscious guilt can come up. And I was thankful because I started going to a lot of meditation practices before I started the course. And I had a little bit of a background or exposure to it. And I can tell you, it really did help me accelerate. Nonetheless, it's going to be work. It's going to be a lot of gut-wrenching confrontation of that dark unconscious guilt, which is extremely difficult to confront. But again, getting our feet down and just having the discipline of the practice, you know, a little bit in the morning, a little bit before you do it at night. If you can do it at some point during the day, woven into your day, however you can squeeze it, the more regular it becomes in your day, the more normal it becomes for our minds to be still and allow that light of God to start to sinking more deeply. And if you think about it, even the subtle, when you say sinking into that light, I realized in really sitting with that it does not come very natural to sink into anything comforting and still, because the ego has us believing that it's normal to be neurotic. It's normal to be shaky and feeling nervous when we're not doing something and when we're not busy. We think this is normal in the world.
Yeah.
Here in the ego world, it is. We can't go 10 seconds without looking at the phone. And so all of this is by design to keep us distracted away from our true identity. And so I'm with you. I really, really emphasize people, whether you're doing a course or anything else, to really, however you do it, make time in that day as regular as often to go into some sort of meditation to still the mind, because it will absolutely prepare you for what's to come in the cleansing process of what Jesus's advanced forgiveness will bring.
Thanks, Gonzalo, because to rest, he's saying that's how we'll live. That'll be our behavior. That'll be how we live this life here in this mortal world. But I want to clarify something. Is a couple things in the course. If you stop and look at these lessons, Jesus only a couple places uses the word meditate. But if you look at these lessons, he'll say, just close your eyes and just think about this. Well, what the hell is closing your eye? That's meditation. Just sit there. You'll say, let thoughts pass. Who comes up? You know, like bring your enemy to the light and then bring a friend to the light. I mean, just read the course with opened eyes and you'll see meditation's running all through it. But I never knew that's what that meant. Just close your eye, just be still, sit. And the other thing that you brought to my attention is during the day, we can just take a deep breath in and exhale, saying, the do 3 of those. Like on your lunch break, you go to the restroom, go to the vending machine, get up from my desk to go walk somewhere, and you can even do it quietly. That is relaxing yourself and bringing your attention back to your mind when you take that breath like that. And when you take that breath in and go out, you can even just kind of visualize your attention back at your mind. I rest in God. Just simple 3 words or something, or I am God as you take that breath. The breathing is such an integral part of experiential yoga and developing a rhythm. There's a rhythm to your heartbeat, to your these chakra movements of light, the great ray movement that you don't even feel is there, or the chakra subtle light you don't feel is there. But the breath is that in and out, making a circle. The great ray is a circle in and out. The chakras ultimately become diamond vision, or a huge circle from the top of the head down through the whole body, back up from the base of the spine, back up again. It's all big circles of atonement, big circles of completion. And so when you take a breath in and then exhale, picture as it turns, that's still a circle. And that becomes a meditation in itself, calming. Before you have to make a phone call to somebody, taking a breath in or out. Breathing, I had no idea how important. Deep breaths in and out. And then pausing pausing just to have your sticky note and say a truth and then go on with your day. Thanks. And also what happens as you do these lessons in the course and turn your day over to Holy Spirit and practice advanced forgiveness, what will happen, you will become more and more aware of what your mind's doing. And you'll start to laugh about it. For example, I start to laugh about something. Like there's 5, this Lama Surya does these Facebook posts, and they're appropriate for us because this is some enlightened being called Tilopa, T-I-L-O-P-A, had 6 words of advice. And I've talked about this before, but Lama Surya kind of revised it. And I want to read it because you'll become, there's 5 words about what we're recalling the past, we're imagining the future, we're thinking about things, we're examining, trying to figure things out, we're controlling, trying to make things happen. All that you'll start to become aware of when your mind's doing that stuff, and you'll go, I'm not doing that. And you could journal maybe whatever that thought was or a person you were thinking about, and sit with Holy Spirit and practice advanced forgiveness on the person, thinking of them as spirit. But you're choosing, you're like Jesus says in chapter 30, you're choosing again. Those 6 words of advice are, the first one is don't recall. Let go what passes. But that also means is that you're recalling the past. Don't recall. Meaning that's anytime you're thinking of some memory in the past, what you did yesterday or what somebody said, the gossip or the stories about somebody, that is the past. That has nothing to do with the now. Now, granted, you can set boundaries. You're not a physical or psychological doormat, but yet when you do that, you're not in the mode of judgment and interpretation, but don't recall. And he says, let go. See, that's the other 2 words I want to impress upon you that you could put on a sticky note. Letting go means that's like in meditation, you let go of that thought. You let go what passes. Don't recall. Don't imagine. Let go what may come. See, we're imagining the future. Let go, meaning you just let it go. And see, then it's going to float away. That thought will float away like clouds in the sky. It becomes a way of living. You're letting these thoughts go. Now, granted, they may come back, but that's why you journal or you sit, you do the lessons in the course, because the images of people will come to mind, and they may come up 500 times, somebody, and you just keep practicing Jesus' advanced forgiveness on that person or image until you no longer have the reactivity. You're just responding to people. You're not reacting. You're not feeling the irritation or the anger that you used to feel with that person. The third thing is don't think. Let go of what happens in this moment. So if you have a thought, emotion, and image, that you're thinking about it, you're thinking about them, you've attached to them or you pushed them away, let it go. Let go of that. Don't examine. Don't try to figure anything out, because now you could turn it over to Holy Spirit and you'll get insight. You'll be inspirited. You'll be given a solution, or you'll hear a solution for something. But don't try to figure anything out. Don't control. Don't try to make anything happen. Now, granted, you could sit with your partner or loved one or whomever, family or whatever, and you can plan something, but how you know that something's gone awry is when you have expectations that it's going to happen. You still can plan, but you want to get so you can let it go and you go with the flow of maybe it changes and you adapt. You're learning to let things go, let things come and go and let them just be. And the last one is rest. See, he uses rest as well. Rest, and then he says, relax right now and rest on the vast expanse. See, that's why I'm using those words called vast expanse, because just look out in front of you, wherever your room or wherever you're at, look at the space around you. That looks like air or space. But if you kind of look at it at a 360-degree view, meaning you're the center of the 360 degrees, and let your awareness go out all the sides, to the sides, beside each side, and the front and back of you, up and down. You're in the center. You're like the eye of the storm. If you let your awareness go, that's the vast expanse. That's the vast clear light. That's the vast God clear light that's right here, right now. And it's at rest on that vast experience. You're resting on it. It's pretty cool because you'll learn to be aware of what your mind's doing when you're recalling something, imagining something, thinking about something, examining something, controlling something, and just stop and rest. Let it go and rest. It's simple, but easier said than done. You're just going to have a sticky note and try to do it. It's like breathe, relax, and smile, big deal, just to breathe, relax, which could be called /rest, smile. There's a big deal about if what you smile, all these muscles, you just feel better when you smile. You're just happier. You're just breathe, relax, smile. Whether you feel like it or not, smile. It's just smile like you're the Christ. Smile like you're God. Fake it while you make it. There's this whole meditation. Let's see that where he says something. This Lama Surya says, yes, smile like you're the Buddha. Smile like you're the Christ, that you're awake. Yay, I'm awake. I'm smiling. I'm a happy camper. Because in reality, that is your true self. We just have thoughts that we're not. So we're faking it while we make it. You're just visualizing all this. Now, what I can do, here's a thing called sky gazing meditation. So if you want, just get comfortable again. I'm going to read this meditation out of this book called Awakening to the Sacred. Awakening to the Sacred from Lama Surya Das. Awakening to the Sacred. And it's on page 328. And here's what he said. This is called Dzogchen Sky Gazing Meditation. Is undertaken in a sitting posture. Get comfortable, he says. Take a few breaths in and out and relax. So just do that. Take a few breaths in and out and relax. Be present, receptive, and available. There's nothing to do, nowhere else to be, nothing to accomplish, figure out, or achieve. Be as natural as a child dropping its body to the grass. Drop your mind. Let it rest in simplicity and awareness. With a big out breath, chant, ah. So do that with a big out breath, chant, ah. Again, breathe in. Then chant with the exhalation, ah, 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 to say ah, ah, ah. Let the ah take you beyond yourself. Ah, and it will, I swear by it. Ah, it will take you beyond your ego self. Turn your mind inside out. Ah, he writes, raise your gaze. I ask you that you raise your gaze above your forehead, look above your head. Elevate the scope of your luminous, sensitive awareness until it becomes like a global 360-degree sphere. See, that's what, so picture, center of your head is the center. Now just visualize you're taking your awareness and it going out both sides, all the way out. Then in front and back, that extends off front and back as far as you can look. Then up and down. You become aware of a global 360-degree sphere. Be mindful, be present, rest in that natural state of uncontrived wakefulness and presence of mind. Like a child lying in the grass, watching the clouds roll by, allow everything to simply pass through the sky like the nature of infinite Buddha mind, Christ mind. Rest in that inclusive, sky-like nature of mind. See, it's vast. Your mind is so vast, vaster than all the universes, which has room for everything that momentarily comes up in the body or mind. Unhindered, a sacred dance of phenomena and noumena, like floats in a divine parade. Let me say that again. Unhindered, a sacred dance of phenomena and noumena, like floats in a divine parade. You're watching a parade of floats, which are the phenomena, means images, come and go. Enjoy the procession of the Dharmakaya, which means absolute reality. That's God reality. Watch the Easter parade in your mind. Pass by like waves in the sea and enjoy the spectacle. There's room for everything. So you can just rest there for a few minutes. And when you want, you can bring your mind back to this place. And now let's pick 2 or 3 people on the screen and practice advanced forgiveness on them. That's where you either say, you are spirit, whole, pure, and innocent, all is forgiven and released, or you say all of it. Only 3 little words to each person, all of it. Pick 3 people and do that. Then to yourself, say all of it, or you say, I am immortal spirit, and this body is a false image and has nothing to do with what I am. Wait, cool. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Holy, well, I no longer say Holy Son of God, although that's what you are. You're God, because there's only God. Barbara, God. Nance, God. Leon, God. Gonzalo, God. Joan, God. Corrine, God. Debbie, God. Teresa, God. Linda, God. Yeah, that's the I am presence, and that's in the course. There's only God. But see, to get to that, you've got to awaken your mind, that you're a Christ mind, a Buddha mind, open your heart to love and compassion and empathy for all your brothers. And then ultimately, or you could come to it before the Christ awareness that you're God, because there's only God. And that's not egotistical. There's only God's spirit. Everything else is all made up. It's a dream. Only in a dream can you make something up that seems to have a power better, bigger than God. I mean, there's not. It's only, we believe in it. We made these ideas, these thoughts, and we believed in them. But you're changing what you believe in. You're undoing these thoughts of separation from your true identity, your brother's true identity, and your God, what God is, your source. So thank you for coming out tonight. Now, anyone else want to have a comment or a question while I'm still recording before I stop recording? hurry here. Somebody may think of something. Okay, I love you all. Thank
Okay.
you for, oh, Barbara, good.
I have a question.
Yeah,
What is the Great Ray?
excuse me now.
What is the Great Ray?
What is it?
Yes.
Well, it's a column of light. You know how you stand, you don't want to ever look at the sun direct on. But
Yeah.
if you look at an image of the sun, it has rays that come off, correct?
Yeah.
Well, in the Course, Jesus says a great ray connects each of us to eternity. So that's why I have you picture, well, this is worth explaining. In the Course, it talked about above the battleground, and I could not figure out what that was. So I asked Holy Spirit, what does that mean? And I let it go. And I was on a trip flying to Toronto, Canada. And I'm just going to mute you while I talk, and then you can come back on. I was on a flight from Orlando to Toronto, Canada. I was on the right side of the plane which was facing east. And I opened the visor up, and it was early in the morning, 6 o'clock or something, and the sun was coming up. And when I looked out the visor, there was this most gorgeous, huge, beautiful sun above a bunch of fluffy clouds. And I looked out and I thought, well, isn't that beautiful? It was really beautiful. But I closed the visor because it was putting light on people. And I got in Toronto, was putting my laptop up in the bed and breakfast. And the thought came in my mind, the sun represents source. The clouds represent the egoic mind. And that's in the Course as well. Clouds represent the egoic mind. And he said, above the battleground is to rise above the clouds to the sun. And then if you read in the Course, Jesus says, just take your hand and move the clouds away, and there's the sun. They're like feathers. They're nothing. They're thoughts. Well, then that's when I developed this practice that I now do with the Great Ray. Because that sun has a ray that comes down, I'm not kidding, it comes down the middle of your head from the source sun, straight down the middle of you, and you run it into the ground to ground yourself. But it's a column of light that connects you to source. It's here now, you don't feel it, but it's there. To feel it, your arc of light, Jesus says in the Course, has to be released. And then the Great Ray, you can feel the Great Ray. That's the arc of light is a little spark. It's also called a spark of light. It's been buried like an onion in the middle of an onion, and the layers of the onion are all the judgments we've had, not just in this lifetime. And if you believe in reincarnation, it's all the other lifetimes, layers and layers of judgments. That's why you're practicing advanced forgiveness on what shows up in front of your face, because to me, any person that shows up could represent 1,000 people that I've ever met in this lifetime or another, or maybe more than 1,000, that I'm healing my mind, that they're not a body, they're spirit. So then layers of this onion get unpeeled until the arc of light is released. Then you can know the Great Ray, feel it come in and go out. And then all the chakras open up. They could open in a different sequence, but anyway. That's what the Great Ray is. So that's how this developed. I'm going to unmute. You can unmute yourself. That's how this developed. It's a actual column of light that's here now. Barbara, you can unmute.
Okay, thanks a lot. Because I've heard of it, and I know that everybody has a little spark. You can feel it once in a while. It's a little spark in you when you do something good or whatever.
Yeah, see, there's the arc or spark of light that will get released, and it radiates. And then Jesus says it. Now I've got a document where, in the Course in Miracles, there's online, the Course, you can search for a word. And I looked for every place the Great Ray word was, or ray and arc or spark of light. And I wrote a document that I can email you, where you can then read, and it says the page numbers where all that is. And see, I studied that. So then after Toronto, then I came home, and that's when I searched and found all those words. And then I studied and contemplated those paragraphs where the great ray and arc of light and spark were. Okay, because you're contemplating, you're getting comfortable with it, these thoughts, and then Holy Spirit helped you more and more and more. So this is a, not a normal meditation. It's pretty spectacular. Holy Spirit driven.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Any other thoughts or questions? So I will stop the recording.